another one right here on none other than 1490. Please give us a call at 305-953-9626. Again, 305-953-9626, or Broward 954-525-1490. Again, that number is 954-525-1490. We want to hear from you. Do you have a testimony? A testimony. Has your marriage gone through a test, and did you pass the test? If so, we want to hear your testimony, how God has brought your marriage out. And we want to hear about the great things that God is doing in your marriage, or what God has already done. Listen, if you're already considering leaving your partner, if you have already left and packed up your bags, if you moved to your mama house, your auntie house, if you called your cousin Nene and told her to come pick you up, if you called your homeboy Pookie and say, listen, I'm out, I'm not being respected, we want you to wait. Divorce is not the solution. If you know someone that is thinking of divorcing or leaving their partner, tell them to tune into 1490, because this is definitely what they want to listen to. Again, we're going to continue on some of the things that cause marriages to fail. And we're going to move through these next issues quickly, because we want to talk to solutions to the matter. Again, callers, we want to hear from you. What has God done for in your marriage, for your marriage? And remember, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimonies. We want to hear your testimony. Number 6, the reason why marriages fail. Addiction problems, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, gambling abuse are all forms of addiction that are very detrimental to any marriage. Even without the presence of physical or verbal abuse, the behavior of an addicted spouse can make any normal marriage abnormal. Addictions are also a common source of money problems in a marriage as well. You have any feedback on that?
Well, I do. It's amazing that, you know what I'm saying, you touching that, because of some things that when we need help in it, we don't choose to ask for help. And we just want people to figure out what's going on with us. And the sad part about it, we'll put things out, well, you hear from God, and God should have told you my business. Well, the bottom line is sometimes you have to ask. The word says you have not because you ask not. You come out and ask somebody for help, knowing you need the help, rather than sitting on your pride and then trying to make them figure out what you're going through.
What about sex addiction?
That's for crazy folks.
It may be for crazy people. However, there's a lot of crazy folk out there if that's the issue, if that's the deal.
Yes, it is.
And pornography is real in marriages. A lot of married people may think pornography is acceptable because they're married and they have sex.
Yeah, but it's the behavior. When you start taking the behavior beyond the confines of what God created it for, then it becomes perverted. And the sad part about it is it takes the spirit on with it. And now they look to be satisfied outside of their particular spouse when God already gave them what they needed in their spouse.
So actually, any of these addictions have a spirit.
It carries a spirit with it.
Connected to it.
Yes, and the fact that we forget that we are spiritual beings, that's the biggest problem in the body. Functioning as carnal because we're married, and he gave us the carnality because we got to please one another. But yet on our spiritual side, we let down our guard to allow spirits to use us, when and therefore it's a detriment to our marriages.
Absolutely. If you or your spouse or someone you know that you're close to is suffering from any addiction problems, we want you to call in. There is help for you. We'll certainly pray for you, and we will certainly get you the assistance or the help that you need, because not only will that kind of addiction break down your marriage, it will break down who you are as an individual. Another reason why marriages fail is abuse problems. Abuse of any kind is never acceptable in marriage, whether it's physical or verbal abuse. It often causes marital breakdown. Sexual abuse and emotional abuse also fall into this category. one partner's desire to degrade their spouse in an ongoing pattern of abuse will surely cause a marriage to fail in time. This is an issue. Can you speak to this, please?
Well, this issue here is primary. I believe a lot of people go through it. They just don't realize they're going through it because they don't deal with it forthright. That's something they don't want to come and talk to their pastor about. Because that's my bedroom. I ain't coming to talk to him. But yet it's causing friction in a relationship that God ordained. So when God ordains something and you see friction in it and you don't have the answer, go to somebody that do have the answer.
So now we're talking about abuse in marriages, and one of the things that we know about physical abuse and we know about verbal abuse, but oftentimes we don't address sexual abuse or emotional abuse. Now, in terms of sexual abuse, yes, the word does say the marriage bed is what?
Undefiled.
Undefiled. Now, please explain that to our listeners, because a partner can take it too far and try and dog their spouse. And I think the issue here is sexing your spouse in terms of loving your spouse.
Yes. When the relationship goes outside of the love feeling, rather than somebody going and using somebody rather than loving them, and in the bottom line, somebody can be in a relationship and feel used based on the treatment that they're undertaking.
Now, is it okay, for example, to if one is having problems, say, in their marriage in terms of sex and abuse, maybe for males, and I've heard this a lot of times, males will oftentimes, not all of them, but you have a percentage of males that may tell their wives to put on a pornography video, and then they'll tell them, put this on because this is what gets me going. What is God's view on that?
Now, if another woman getting you going to have to be with your wife, then you know what I'm saying, you married to the wrong woman. You should be in the video rather than the woman you married to. Because if she the one got you going, then why you going to be laying down with the one who there with you?
Would that be a form of adultery?
That's adultery. Because
Absolutely.
You're looking and lusting on another woman, but yet you are having intercourse with your wife.
And then what that also does is, and we talked about this, it brings a spirit of perversion into the bedroom. A lot of times, I believe as married people, even if you're not married, we don't think that married people can carry a spirit of perversion on there. A lot of people think that's absolutely not possible.
Once again, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But God didn't stop there. He said because they rejected knowledge, he also rejected them and their children. And a lot of people, what they do is they, even when they quote that scripture, they stop at my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. No, somebody tried to tell you something and you just didn't want to listen. And so therefore, it came to rejection.
Now, could you speak to the issue of, and we're going here tonight, we didn't really plan to go here tonight or talk about this particular issue. What about the issue on, and I've heard this before because we're talking about abuse and we're talking about sexual abuse. I've heard a lot of times from many women out there that may be afraid to call and say, this is what I'm going through, this is what I've experienced, because certainly the phone lines aren't ringing off of the hook tonight. I think for a number of reasons. But what I've heard in the past is that a lot of women are being abused in their marriage because the man takes the authority and says, you have to submit to me, so you need to submit to me even in certain things in sex.
You need to get delivered. That's all I can say, because what I'm saying, when you're born again, you have a totally different perspective of how you do things. And what's happened is that most of the time you get married in unequally yoked situations. And so now they bring all the craziness with them into their marriage. And then when you're trying to get them out, it's still a practice of behavior. So when you have situations like that, the first thing is get counseling. And the sad part about the situation is that most of us don't want to deal with that because we're still hiding or in denial that I do have a situation, I do have a problem. I always say this. In order for an alcoholic to get treated, he must admit he's an alcoholic. And sex addicts don't want to say they're sex addicts because they'll tell you in a minute, I don't have that, I'm good, I'm fine. And just in denial.
Right. Well, if you or your spouse or someone that you know are going through these type of conflicts, or if you are in a relationship with someone and you are